Hi there and welcome aboard this antique sailboat. My husband Clark and I live and travel aboard this 1967 Creekmore 45 and we have a bunch of renovations in store for the next couple weeks. Take you along with us. If you are new to our channel, we sit down every month and tell you where we are, what we're doing, and how much it costs us to live this live-aboard life. And we also do a lot of project videos to help new sailors and other people who are living on boats do the projects they need to do themselves. This boat renovation series is a new series for us, and you're going to help us decide if we keep doing this or if we just turn the cameras off and get our work done. So if you like this video, do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and those things let YouTube know that these are good videos, and it lets us know that you want us to keep doing them. So do that, and then come along with us as we go through our to-do list of what's coming up next as we restore this antique boat.
Over 30 years ago, when I was 27, I bought Temptress. I had a 25-foot boat beforehand, but nothing that could cross oceans. And she was a disaster. This was a hull. I brought her back, and part of the bringing her back included, about 5 years into that project, redoing all the interior varnish. And when I did it, it was like a jewel in here. It was just like a jewel case. It was wonderful. Well, I've had her for 25 years, and I've been through the tropics, and I've been through tens of thousands of ocean miles, and she's getting rough again, just being lived in and beat against and all the things that happen. So we're going to take her back. We're going to fix some leaks that the boat has developed over the years. We're going to repair some rot that was caused by those leaks. And we're going to strip down this varnish and bring it back to a very beautiful new furniture kind of a look. So let's take a look at what we're working with. We've got some leak repair we had to do to keep rot from happening. We've got the actual rot we need to repair. And of course, we've got a lot of varnish to evaluate and decide what to do before we tear it all off and start over again. Temptress has a deck that is made out of plywood, then fiberglass, and then glued down teak strips. So it's inherently waterproof with that fiberglass layer, and there's no screws going through into the fiberglass, so it's really good at the deck. The house is made out of solid teak, and that's connected around the deck. Well, over the years, that joint has opened up. And when I got the boat, it leaked, and I tried various things like injecting epoxy and all kinds of stuff. Nothing worked. So we got a little more drastic. The real way to fix this would be to take the house right off and rebond it, but my God, that's too much work. So I actually cut the teak decks back, all shorter, around the front edge, and dug down underneath and filled that all with Sikaflex. Then put a small little decorative band around the outside, and of course seal that with Sikaflex. So it's really, really, really very well bonded with a rubbery modern material to the deck. I've got great hopes this will work and continue to work. We had a hell of a rain last night and this morning, and now it's raining. Since I owned this boat 30 years ago, it never didn't leak in this area. It's dry as a bone. In fact, we've got some paper towels down here to catch where the drips usually are, and paper towel will show you if you had any leak at all. Bone dry. So I think we're ready to do the fixes and the repairs with good confidence that we're not going to have to do them again in a couple of years. While I was stripping all this out, I am doing an ongoing project of, I feel like working on deck today. Look around, where's the worst board? Replace it. Well, these boards were pretty bad. So you can see the color is a little different. That's because it's brand new sawn teak, and it'll gray out like everything else in a few years. I've replaced these. Also, the picky among you on boat things will say, oh my God, you haven't put caulk in between the boards. I've given up on putting caulk between the boards. I don't care if some dust collects in there. With me, it's fine. Everybody has their own choice of how they do their boat, and I'm not caulking anymore. No one really knows the history of a used boat. But from what I can piece together, it looks like Temptress was built, probably went out sailing, and there was some flex in the deck in this area because that's where the mast connects to it and everything. So the owner didn't like it, and he had some reinforcement put in, and you'll see that from below in the ceiling where there's this big inch-thick piece of plywood kind of locked in all the way across the boat. To lock that in, it's glued in and sealed in, but it's also bolted in. And why I know that it was done after the design is because it was done after the teak decks were put on. So they drilled down through the teak decks, did this bolting, and then put little bungs over to look nice again. Well, as the teak got thinner over the 50 years of her life, the little bungs popped up and everything. So one of the things we're doing is, as I remove one of the bad deck boards that intersects with one of these bolts, I go down below and clean out all under the bolt first and put some sealant and then tighten it right down again because all the wood underneath it is kind of no longer viable. So it's bolted right onto the fiberglass, kind of how it should have been in the first place. And then I put a new teak strip over the top after sealing the top of the screw head with some epoxy. Waterproof as can be, strong as can be. Here's another thing. Actually, I repaired this years ago, but I didn't get the leak right, and now I've got the leak. You can see this is all dry, but it rotted again over the time. So we're going to redo all these ceiling repairs. Notice the ceiling also has mildew. That happened because the boat was closed up for a couple of years, and you can't let condensation happen. If you build a ventilation system so that water never condenses, you'll never get these problems. But we've got them. Also, we heated Temptress once when it was really cold with a kerosene lamp, and we let it go a little too rich, so there's like soot everywhere on the ceiling. Anyway, a little paint and a little bit of repair, and that ceiling will look like it was new. Let's see what we've got to work with. We've got some spots that are worn through just from grabbing it with your hands over the years. We've got some spots with like some actual dents because something has swung into it while we were at sea. And we got some spots that honestly look pretty darn good. We just might have to give it a light sanding and put another coat of shine on top. There's been a picture frame here or a mirror here ever since I owned the boat. So this varnish has never seen the sun really. And see what it looks like. It's kind of beautiful. Now the rest of this wall, it's been exposed to weather, and the varnish layers have darkened over time. That happens. So what I think we're going to do on this wall and all the big walls is actually scrape it right down to wood and start off fresh. Can't do that a lot with plywood because, you know, that top mahogany ply is very thin. But it'll be the first time in 50 years I think she can handle it there. There's places on the boat we grab, like this one over here, and every time you walk through, you grab a hold of it. The acids and the oils in your hand have eaten through the varnish. There's basically no varnish here, and it's just like really dirty wood. So again, we're going to take this right back down all the way and bring it right back to good. This area here is a very thin piece of plywood, and I know the veneer is very thin. It would be a great candidate for taking all the way down to wood, but maybe someone might screw up and go too far and there's a risk. Well, in real use, there's books here. You can never see this wall. So we're just going to give it a light sanding so it'll accept the varnish and put another coat on so it's shiny. But these things just don't matter so much. Like here where all this damage is, the damage is because things were sliding around, but there's going to be books up to here as soon as we're done. It just isn't worth the effort or the risk. Now for the complicated part. Basically, why the others were easy is because we agree. This one we don't agree. This is the wall, the back edge of the couch. Usually there's cushions right up to this line. So you'll never ever see anything below this line, which is actually why this looks so nice right here. But this, a lot of hand grabbing, a lot of things beating on it over the years, this is a mess. So I feel that this all down to about here should get stripped down and look perfect. And then we just leave the line and just refresh the varnish on the old part. It saves a lot of effort, and it's, like I said, going to be covered up with cushions. Emily feels we should scrape it all and have it all absolutely beautiful. And we've decided we'd like to hear your vote on that. So tell us, do you think, let's call this behind the table, should be completely stripped, or only the parts that show behind the cushions? These are just little bits and bobs that I've taken off, some recently and some over the years, and they're all going to get stripped down and revarnished and put back in place. It's easier to do them out of where they are if they're already falling off. There's a part that I've taken off from here. If you look at old pictures of Temptress, the back of this couch comes up about this far, and there's cushions kind of permanently on it. That all can fold down. It folds into this little rack here. And this is a pilot berth. We don't use it that way. We just use it to store stuff. It's where our guitars are and our scuba equipment and stuff. But the actual plywood that is this shelf has delaminated and rotted a bit. So I've got that outside, and that's going to be kind of a separate side project I do. So when you see Emily busily sanding and I'm not, just think I'm doing something like that. Or I'm laying in a hammock, one of those things. Over the years, I have had mattresses in here and used it as a pilot berth. I've had a crew of 4 go down to San Francisco once from Seattle, and one guy slept here the whole time. He loved it because when you fold it up, it's a little narrow coffin, but when the seas are off, which they were, he was just nestled right in there. I like how they did this, and you fold it down, it's a pretty big berth. I've had this piece out and in probably 10 times since I've had the boat, doing various things, not just varnishing, but doing other construction. And, you know, the wood screws into the edge of plywood. That gets a little messed up. You know, they don't hold the threads anymore. So we're going to drill out these holes, or at least many of them, and put wooden bungs in, and then just re-drill and re-tap it. It'll be stronger than original because it'll be in a little teak ring around the screw instead of the edge of plywood. Edges of plywood aren't very good for holding screws. This door, you can see the scratches in it and the bungs and things that are messed up. We'll definitely redo. This is a little bit interesting. I've had holes cut in it for a clock and a barometer. And I bought a bigger clock and barometer that were bigger than the holes, but it just looked bad. Anyway, I just got this little piece of red Luan, actually, and glued it to the wall and varnished it, and it looks pretty good. And we mount fans and all kinds of things kind of in this area. But if you have holes in your wall, you can get creative and fix the holes with a cover that looks okay. I think so anyway. We have other doors that actually look quite nice. The reason for that is since the doors, they come off easily, and about 4 or 5 years ago, I took everything off Temptress that came off easily and showed. Took it home, stripped it down, and redid it with a urethane finish. We're going to be using a real varnish, but at least for now, we're going to leave these just the way they are. And if they ever bother us in the future, know that we can just take them outside and do them, and it's not like having to strip the whole room. Now let me show you the floors. This floorboard is built into the boat. It doesn't come out easily. These pop right out. This is like where batteries are stored, and this is how you get to the engine. So over the years, I've taken these out, and Emily and I have stripped them down and made them all pretty, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I think. I mean, obviously we walk on them, so they're not beautiful, but they look pretty good, obviously compared to this. Ick. This is what a 50-year-old boat that's never had her floors redone, just layers on layers of heavy varnish looks like. And ammonia spilled on it. To do this, you have to do it in the boat, and it makes a big mess. So we're going to use this time where we're making a big mess anyway to bring this right up to this level. The boards themselves are interesting. This is a teak and holly finish. So a board of teak, a thin holly, board of teak, thin holly, and you get this bright contrast, but you also get really smooth, nothing gets in the cracks, there's no open seam. It is plywood, but over the plywood is more than a 1/4 inch of actual teak and holly laid. So you can sand into it and get the whiteness of the holly back and get the beauty of the teak back. It used to be really popular in boats of high quality, but it's done with veneers nowadays. I've seen it done as a plastic product that you can lie over things. Because this boat is actually made out of real teak and holly in her soles, not just like a light laminate, you can sand down into it. So this can look like this. So if you find an old boat with real teak and holly that the soles look like this, and that's why you don't buy her, well, buy her, because some sand, some elbow grease, some scraping, and some new varnish, and that's what she'll look like. This is one of those things that's just what a yacht should be. She needs a bit of bronze, she needs a bit of brass, she needs a bit of these classic things. Maybe a little stained glass, you know, the things that they did in her time. all of these bits and these walls, this is solid teak. This is a solid 1-inch plank, or actually in this case 2 planks of teak. Since it's not a plywood, there's no worry about, you know, sanding through it. So I would always strip this all the way down and make this just look as good as possible. Right now, this board looks better on the outside where we freshly varnished it than it does on the inside, and that's just wrong.
All right, so we have our to-do list. As we said, this is a new series for us, so your to-do list, if you want to see more of this series and you like it, give this video a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you aren't already subscribed to our videos. Thank you so much to everybody who is supporting us on Patreon and helping us buy all our little bits and bobs for the project. And stay tuned, because we've got significantly more videos coming up, all about renovating Temptress and getting her back into ship shape. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Here goes. It's been almost 100% humidity for weeks. Poured down rain. We've had a day of destruction. It was a good day of destruction. These little bits of plywood that we've made, cut just to fit, and then we'll paint that the same color as the ceiling. You'll never know it happened.